Hey guys, John here. Welcome to my markets review series where we analyze Bitcoin, the S&P 500, and gold. Now, before we get started, I want to remind you guys that this video is brought to you by and sponsored by PrimeXBT, where they offer leverage trading on all different types of assets, including the S&P 500, gold, currencies, and even Bitcoin. So go check them out, guys. And with that said, let's get started. Okay, so let's start with Bitcoin. So we have the weekly chart, and give me a second here. I'll start just tagging it up. There's a support right there. There's a support right there. Go ahead and draw our resistance here at the top. And I like that one too, since this is the weekly chart. Boom. Okay, let's get to some fibs. Like this, swing high to swing low. We'll go ahead and we'll tag this here, which is kind of the area that we're seeing resistance, right? Let's do one more fib. We'll go from the most recent swing high to the most recent swing low. Okay, and of course, that's in confluence with the last fib, right? This area here. Now remember, guys, I keep preaching that I believe in support and resistance areas, not defined lines. So again, this area here with 50,000 and 49,000, that makes complete sense. Not only is it confirmed by fib levels, but it's also, a psychological level. Any round number, any big, large round number is going to be a psychological level where people are naturally going to think about selling, right? And we've never had a psychological number as big as 50,000. And how round is that, right? So naturally, I expect these things to all kind of line up here on the weekly, right? So let's go ahead and switch our some of our indicators on. We do have the breakout indicators, as you can see here on the macro time frame. Let's go ahead and switch to the daily. Let's go ahead and put on the trending indicator and see what we can find. Okay, so now that we've tagged up the weekly, we can see that on the daily we had trouble breaking through this resistance, right? Kind of faked out here, broke down, and when we did finally close above it, this is the area now that we're going to consolidate in here until we get our next big move. And the overhead resistance is pretty strong, guys. I'm not going to lie, that $50,000, I do think we get it. But I wouldn't be surprised if we had some trouble here. At least going sideways and just testing it a few times. Unless we get something that just you can't call in technical analysis, whether it's another Ellen buy or somebody else. But as far as TA goes, this level here, this 50K, it's going to be a milestone when we break above this and close above it, right? We need confirmation that this move is in play. So to the upside, yeah, my target is 50K. I'd like to see us break above it. I obviously do think we're going to do that, or else I wouldn't be, bullish on Bitcoin still, and I'm absolutely still a bull. Okay, so that kind of looks like it for Bitcoin. Let me just stare at this chart for a second. Over here. Yeah. Go ahead and see that we've even got some bearish resistance just not forming, right? How coincidental that it's right here in this little area where we have all this resistance above board. So yeah, guys, just buckle down. Not bearish at all, but we do need to get through this psychological 50K level, and I think that's my takeaway for Bitcoin. Let's move on to the SPX. Okay, here we have the SPX, which is the S&P 500. It's the largest 500 companies in the stock market. So this is the weekly chart. You can see here this is March when we had basically the recession, right? And then the fast V-shaped recovery. I think we spent more money trying to get out of this recession in 3 months, than we did in the past 4 sessions all combined. So we did have a recovery, and it did go into an uptrend, a green uptrend in the stock market. Now I'm going to give you some of my bias, not just my TA here, because I think TA is a little bit irrelevant here in the stock market. We all know that valuations are way below what the actual stock prices are reflecting. They're way stretched past valuations. And that's okay, in my opinion. I think that this story comes down to the dollar, right? The Fed's going to continue printing money. They say that they're going to, ease up on it, but the truth is the matter, they cannot do that. So the game plan is, how does the Fed keep printing money without keeping the dollar from, spiraling down at a faster rate than it's been doing? I expect the dollar to keep declining. I've actually got a play against that, and we can go into that a little bit later. But I do believe they're going to keep printing. I think that they will be able to keep the dollar from kind of, falling at a faster rate. And if they do that, I expect the stock market to just keep melting up. I actually expect it at some point to go at a faster rate than it's doing now currently. The only risk that I personally see to the stock market is if the Fed is not able to keep the dollar under control from really going at a faster rate of decline, and it is having a bounce now, but if they can't control it, that's when I see risk of the stock market collapsing, right? And if it does fall, it's going to have to fall to and probably below current valuations. And we all know that companies are not doing as well as their stocks are, right? Their balance sheets are not as healthy as the stocks are reflecting, and that's because of the printing. So I'm very, very bullish on stocks. However, I'm watching the dollar very, very closely. So again, that was my bias. It wasn't as much TA, but we can go down to the daily time frame once I've said that and kind of see what's been happening here. So we can see that we've been in an uptrend. We had some profit taking, a little bit of, this is when we got the news that the vaccine wouldn't be as effective against the new strains. And then once the market kind of digested that news, it was back to the original game plan, and we actually went at a faster rate of descent than we've been going. I expect this to carry on. We do have some 8 and 9s here, and a lot of times you'll see a bit of weakness. It means that we've had 8 or 9 consecutive days in a row to the upside. So naturally, it's kind of like an overbought signal, right? But it's also a shorter term signal. So this all looks good on the daily chart. Again, you've got my outlook. So yeah, I mean, we can go ahead and let's see here. I mean, it's very hard. Let's see if I can define something though. Do something like this. Yeah, and I would say that this red here was the outlier, right? That was when we found out the vaccines wouldn't work. But for the most part, that is, let's say that right there. Yep. So we're in this uptrend, right? I don't see us breaking this channel. And we did kind of get a little bit of a scare for 1-2 days we closed below this channel. So this channel is very much in play. Do note that we are again at the upper end of the channel, which again coincidentally coincides with this 8 and 9. So we could have some weakness here, but again, guys, the macro is telling us that we're in an uptrend, and the environment with the Fed is it's almost unstoppable in my opinion. So bullish on stocks. Yeah, and let's move over to the metals. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start with silver. I'm not going to do gold anymore. Not anymore, but for the short term, gold is not doing too well, and silver is kind of the story, right? All the gold bugs have now switched their narrative, and now all of a sudden it's silver, right? So let me get to silver, and let's get started on that. Okay, so getting on to silver. This is the weekly chart, guys, of silver, XAG, USD. You can find this on PrimeXBT with everything else. That's why I have it in that pair instead of your regular SLV pairs on the stock market. So looking at this, just your weekly chart, your macro chart, we're at levels that we were once in from 2010 all the way to 2013. That's kind of where we're stuck, is just below this area, right? And when I do my other levels and get fibs, these are the other 2 levels I get as well. So this area, just in general, on a macro time frame, it's having a lot of trouble with, and that's to be expected. And one reason why you can think of them as areas is because, look, all the institutions were watching this level here and this level here, right? And we weren't able to break above it. So they probably had a whole bunch of short orders probably before this really strong resistance, right? It's almost the same concept of front running, basically, right? Is that they're going to start placing the orders a little bit lower for their sell orders. And sure enough, you had this stage 2 uptrend, and then you had, your stage 4 downtrend, or in my opinion, this actually looks like it went into a base, right? Because it didn't really start to downtrend. So let me catch that. Stage 3 basing, and normally after that, right, comes a continuation again, stage uptrend, or stage 2 uptrend continuation, or a stage 4 downtrend. Okay, so what I really like to see happen here is I would really like to see us close above this resistance and not just wick to it, right? So don't get trigger happy if this, goes here and then wicks again to this point right here. You want to see it close above this resistance, okay? If it closes above this resistance, then, we do have still more overhead resistance from the years past, but this is the real big one that everyone's watching. So that would be a good entry. If we did close above this resistance, you could see something like it break out and then maybe pull back, or if it's too strong in this environment, it could go all the way. Now, let me just share some of my narrative. My narrative is that in this environment, metals do really well. But of course, I think there's better opportunities. Like, of course, crypto, Bitcoin, I think is probably the best opportunity, as far as this macro environment that we have with the Fed. So yeah, I agree with all the gold bugs and silver bugs, but it'll do well, but I think there's better opportunities. And for the short term here, you can see, let me just stop that Discord. Billy's going crazy. So yeah, for the short term, this is what we want, guys. We want to cross this level, and let's even go down to the daily. We can look at that a bit closer. So we can see here, this is the recent high and the one just before it. So that's our focus right now. And you can see we kind of just wicked above this resistance, came back down, and it looks like we have about 4 hours left. Yeah, 4 hours left. And if this does close above this resistance, it'll be good. And the next target is here, and then of course here. But this area, we just want to get past it, and then yeah, then it looks great. That's the only issue I have. And if we had to fall down and break, obviously you can see that there's a lot of support right here. So I mean, anywhere right here would be good. Probably this one right there. Yeah, that's the top of our support. So if we did break, I would expect us to consolidate around here and then give it another shot. I don't think silver really collapses unless, again, we have something in the macro environment that really changes, and I don't see anything changing anytime soon. Okay, guys, let's go to one of the plays that I'm playing right now, which is basically CNH USD. It's going to be the China dollar pair, the yuan dollar pair, and this is where I think it's going to be a long-term good play for. Well, I'm in this, and for you guys too. I think this is a good play. Get rid of that. Look at this chart, guys. Okay, now let me explain this to you. China got out of COVID a lot more unscathed than the rest of the world, and particularly the U.S. So we have the U.S. dollar collapsing, and China's, they're going to be getting back to a normal economy. I mean, pretty soon if they haven't already. And everyone kind of foresaw this. We had a squeeze right here. We had your signal. I believe I got in just a little bit after this and said a stop, and sure enough, I didn't even need that stop. I believe I raised my stop to right here, just below this low point, and I might even raise it again. I want to see a little bit of a pullback and then off again. But as you can see, guys, this is in a full-blown uptrend. Trust me when I say this is probably not going to change for at least a year. So this is a good place to get in. If you like this place, this trade, I'd appreciate it if you use the ref link. Keep my sponsors happy. And this is the ticker on PrimeXBT, CNHUSD. Also, if you use my code WickSave, once you sign up, you will get a 50% bonus from them matching your deposit. So this is not a bad trade. Again, not financial advice, but in my opinion, my money is on this trade. So go check it out. With that said, guys, let's wrap up. Again, you can find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is 0hedge_. And with that said, guys, I'll catch you guys next week. Take care and safe trading.